Okay, guys, I'm back to tell the story, the small before the big. I'm gonna call it the small before the big. So this is another portion of how God is very intentional in how he do things, and he will show you something small or let you experience something small before something big, okay, in preparation for something big. So hopefully it records this whole thing. I really pray it does, because this is a good story in my opinion. This is honestly how I would say it's like it's a testimony how I was led to truly finally giving everything to God and actually serving God, because I grew up in a Christian household, of course, and I believed God existed, but at that time I didn't actually follow God to the extent I do now. And even when I did start it then, it's not the same now. So I was 16 years old. This is so funny. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was 16 years old, sophomore year in high school, and this is around the end of sophomore year, because it was around COVID time, but before COVID hit. So March, April, because it wasn't yet May. So somewhere around there, okay? And so, oh my gosh, this is so funny, y'all. Please bear with me. I was talking to this guy, and this is my first time ever talking to anybody, right? So I was talking to this guy, and yeah, of course, I like the person, and I was talking to him, blah, blah, blah. And so after a while, this guy ghosted me, y'all, okay? I'll be so honest. This guy ghosted me and stopped talking to me. This is so funny. And so me being me, at that time, I said I was 16, and I always liked people, but I never talked to them, because who am I? What am I going to do talking to you for? First of all, that's never going to work. Me, I was, what you call it, self-conscious, very insecure. I wasn't cute to other people, in my eyes. In my eyes. To me now, you know. But anyway. So I'm talking to this guy. He ghosted me, right? And so one day, I remember specifically because I was in my brother's room. I texted this person, but he never texted back. And I was like, okay, well, why is he not texting back? And I had a very, very bad habit of getting like nervous and anxious, just kind of overthinking it, like shaking, anxious, nervous. So I'm like, okay. So I go out of my brother's room and I go to my room. I'm like, okay. So then I think at some point I just go to bed to lay down. It must have been a weekend, not school the next day. So I went to lay down, right? And I'm like, bruh, I should not be this nervous or anxious to talk to a person. So I was like, okay, I know, Lord, this is when, I don't exactly remember how everything happened, but for some reason, I guess in my mind, I thought, okay, I know I always hear about the Lord. I know they always talk about bringing peace. So at this point, it's been a long time period when I texted this person, he never texted back. So I'm in my room now. Like I said, I walked in my brother's room. I'm in my room. At some point, I decided to go to bed. So I'm laying in bed, right? Kind of can't go to sleep, I guess. If I can remember this was when I'm 21 now, 16. So some years ago. I can't really remember everything. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I shouldn't be this anxious. I shouldn't be this nervous to talk to someone when oh, this was another thing. I knew he wasn't going to text back. That's another thing. I knew he was not going to text back. But for some reason, I just had to text this person. So I was like, all right, look, Lord, I know they talk about you bring peace, you can calm me down. So here's what I did. This is just the Lord speaking to me. Honestly, at that point, I guess I didn't understand it back then, but for some reason, that's just what came to my mind. Like I said, I grew up in a Christian household. I knew the Lord. But I just wasn't truly serving God in the way that I could. I believed he existed. I knew he existed. I believed in God. But so I decided to, I was like, okay, look, I'm going to find a scripture. I decided to find a scripture. All this is in my head. I go and I find a scripture, and I decided to pray over it. And it's actually this scripture right here, John 14:27, which says, I'm leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid. And I feel like I remember scrolling through, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I looked up like scriptures on peace, or just, something like that. And I'm scrolling through, and I remember I found that one. I read it. And so I was like, okay, I prayed over it. I prayed over this scripture. I changed my text a little bit because I was about to text him again. I changed my text a little bit and I sent it. And I was like, okay. He never texted back. Like I said, I knew he wasn't going to text back, but I, for some reason, just felt like I needed to text him, right? But the way this time that there was peace that I had, there was like a peace like never before. And that was the first time I do believe God was like, let me show you what I can do for you. And he did it. Literally, like, there was peace like never before. I was always a person that get anxious. And again, I feel like I remember my stepdad saying this. He never wanted any of his daughters, he never wanted any of us to ever feel like we had to be nervous or scared over a man, or this is that and the third. You know what I'm saying? And God is the same way. He was like, daughter, my child, there is no need for you to be this anxious, upset, and nervous over one person not texting you back. It's not that, it's not that deep. He's not saying it like that, but he's like, you shouldn't allow someone to make you that nervous. So essentially he showed me that peace. And again, like I said, he never texted back, but there was peace that I had, and I knew he wasn't going to text back, but I'm just thankful. That's what God showed, the peace that he could bring. And like I said, this was in preparation for something way bigger that was coming that never imagined, but it came. And that's going to be a separate story in itself. Like I said, the small before the big. And at this point, in this small little thing that happened, I did decide to kind of like start following the Lord a little bit, because I was like, I saw what he could do. So I'm like, okay, that was a hint of what God showed me. And then this bigger thing really was the kickstarter to like, okay, I'm about to follow God. So that's the whole later story. If you want to hear that story, which is another deeper testimony, which most of you probably already know what I'm going to start talking about, but if you want to hear that, comment below and I'll tell you the big after the small. This is the small before the big, and I'll tell you the big after the small. So yes, thank you guys for watching that. But yeah, that happened. Oh, really quick, and another thing I was going to say along with that, God was showing you're not always going to get what you pray for. You're not always going to get what you want, which also leads into the other big after the small testimony too. So yeah.